Hey guys, and welcome back to ScarletSprites. This is the channel where real stuff happens, and yeah, no surprise, that's what we are doing again today. You may remember a little while ago I did a video talking about the Sega Titan Video Arcade Board, or ST-V, and let's be really clear, that's a V as in Vixen, ST-V, otherwise it's one letter away from something you don't want to own. Okay, so essentially, this is the arcade version of the Sega Saturn. Most prominently, I think most American arcade players will remember Die Hard Arcade on this system. You should definitely go and check out some of the cool add-ons I picked up to really spruce up my Sega ST-V board in this video. But really, this is all to say that I picked up this cool piece of late 90s Sega arcade hardware. I've enjoyed playing it, and I've been giving consideration to having it in a more permanent home. And then recently I had an opportunity to pick up a Sega Die Hard Arcade Machine, and I decided to take it. So here it is, and I think a lot of you will probably remember these big plastic behemoths that house the Die Hard arcade game. They're just so notably different than the wooden cabs we were used to up until this point in time. They just really stood out. Maybe not always in a good way. I know people think these look cheap, and quite honestly, these are not highly desired in the arcade community, but that's kind of perfect because much like my Virtua Fighter, I love the uniqueness and the history that's tied up in these pieces as much as I do the games. And if other people don't, well, it makes them more cheap for me. I often hear that real arcade machines cost thousands of dollars, and sure, if you're buying fully restored from a distributor, they might. But this guy ended up being a little over 300 bucks, and remember, it already has a Titan arcade board inside with a Die Hard cart, both of which I already own, so I can sell those and really bring the cost of this down to maybe less than $200 out of pocket if I'm lucky. Okay, so you knew that this wasn't going to be all roses. There's always a little bit of work involved. You'll first notice that the marquee light is out, and that's totally fine. I typically replace these with $10 LED tubes anyways, so I'm not too worried about that. The control panel is in overall okay shape, but you know I also like to replace the controls with brand new sticks and buttons. What's in here will be coming out, and IL Euro sticks and buttons with cherry micro switches will be going in. Next, don't try and adjust your sets here, folks. This is actually the picture on the monitor. It's blurry. I'm hoping this is just a focus setting on the flyback, but if not, I'll replace the flyback when I recap the monitor chassis and see where that gets me. The important thing here is that the monitor works, and apparently so does the game board. Here's where things took a bit of a turn sideways. In the Sega ST-V Arcade Manual, it notes that there is a monitor access panel on the back of the cabinet. On my unit? Nope, there is no such panel. This is all one big piece of molded plastic. No panel or flip down door to open to access the monitor chassis, which means the only way for me to get to it is up through the bottom panel or taking off the front piece and reaching behind the tube. Oh yeah, I also don't have keys for this cabinet. None. So in order to get inside, I have to drill out the locks on it. I started with the front door lock that gives access to the coin bucket in hopes that there might be keys hanging inside or in the bucket itself. Nope. So then I went to the back door and drilled out its lock. This one was more of a pain to get through, but it eventually dropped and I was able to get inside. Dusty as expected, but nothing too terrible here. The worst part of this was that by drilling the lock, I dropped metal shavings all over the PCB, which is mounted directly onto the back of the door. The shavings also fell down through the grates and into the power supply, so that definitely needs cleaned out before being used again, but for now, I'll just swap over to another spare that I have on hand. And I think this is probably a good stopping point for now before I come back and revisit this cabinet again with hopefully everything running in prime shape. I will note here something else though that I found interesting. I noticed that the Die Hard instruction stickers and control panel overlay had been placed on top of another set of decals. Now the only other game I'd seen running in the ST-V cabinet before was Virtua Fighter Remix, and when I looked at the art for that, it just didn't quite line up with the blue I was seeing bleed through on the left and then the red on the right. And then I came across this flyer, Super Major League. This is definitely what my game was before becoming a diehard. And as a spoiler, I did later find underneath some of the dirt and dust in the bottom of this cabinet a Sega authenticity sticker confirming my conclusion. Very cool to have a small peek into the history of the machine that you own, even if it's only part of the story. So this is the way some projects go, right? It's undoubtedly still a cool pickup. I love that it's Sega, I love that it's different than my other arcade machines, and I love that it has real potential. But the downside right now is that despite that $300 plus price tag and being able to recover some of that by flipping the cart and board, I'm going to need to start tearing this apart in order to get access to the monitor chassis. For something this difficult to access, I'm not going to want to be fooling around with it too often, so I really got to go hard from the beginning here. So there are some additional parts like caps and things like that I'm going to have to sink into this, and I also have some grandiose ideas about how I want to handle the audio here. So I don't know, at the end I think I'm still going to come out okay, and I'll have something really cool when I'm finished. So that's an early peek at the Sega ST-V Arcade Machine. It's actually not a diehard after all, but a super major league, I suppose. But either way, real stuff, real cool hardware and relics from the past that I love and I enjoy sharing with you guys. Stick around for some more real stuff on the way. I have at least 2 hardware showcases on deck that will be hitting the channel this month. Thanks so much for checking out today's cabinet. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you all next time. Later, guys.